Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome back to some Club 100 Racing 2025 in the heavyweight sprint as we go straight into race number 1 at the beautiful GYG circuit, one of the prettiest tracks I think I've ever raced at and possibly will ever race at. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And tell you what isn't gorgeous is unfortunately there Paul Williams getting turned around as we go through turn 1 in this heat, as we're just up inside of Glan-y-Gors as we have a look back at what happened there.
7 more minutes of racing here at GYG, and already we've got some action here into the first corner. There is a spin, a bit of contact with the number 25 kart. There's Paul Williams, an unfortunate start to his
So yeah,
race.
you can see that sort of Paul got tangled with another driver who's trying to sort of come across that, then caused his rear end to sort of swap round on him, and then unsighted, unfortunately, a driver came and hit Paul, and that was the end of his race. A bit too much damage on the kart to then continue. But we skip ahead now to the tail end as we go through the compressions and then through the final corner, and there are of course yellow flags here due to Paul's stricken kart on the side there. But we slow down, and then the karts in front all get kind of like tripped over each other, and by the time that we've got past the incident, we're back up to speed, they're not, and able to take advantage there, and just enough space to squeeze to the right hand side as we go through the fast right hander up towards the hairpin at the top of the hill, and then able to get another move as we come back down owing to a slightly better exit up the inside of the carousel. So quite a few positions in very few corners there, which was going to be important because Kurt Holmes has worked his way towards the front of the field in this one, and if he's given too much opportunity to run away, then that could be no chance at all of trying to hunt him down and get a win. But we skip forward ahead a little bit. We got driver in front of us defending, going into the carousel, again not able to make a move this time on this lap, and as we come through a very fast set of right-handers, closing speed very, very quick, and there's just enough of a gap in between the driver in front here and the driver in the black suit, which means we can throw it up the inside of the left-hander, get that move done, and then have to succumb to yellow flags once more as we come through this first corner. But that'll be the last time we see yellow flags, and it would free up any opportunities for early moves going down the straight from this point in the race onwards. As we come up towards the hairpin, just allowing enough of a gap towards the inside, and even though the driver in front of them was quite close, the speed was low enough that I could kind of get it up the inside. Grip on the outside of the corner wasn't high enough for drivers to really try and hold it around the outside at normal racing speed. On the first lap, maybe, but definitely not into the race, and that's another position for us as we again come up towards the corner at the top of the hill. Definitely the best opportunity to make a, well, I say best opportunity, the most traditional opportunity for a overtaking move is that hairpin, as we actually get a bit of a freebie as the driver in front of both me and the driver in front of us now goes wide, and we're able to just take advantage of that. But yeah, it's a hard circuit, GYG, to pass on. It's not to say that it's easy to defend, but it forces you to have to get very creative in terms of what it is you're going to do, and sometimes it does rely on mistakes from drivers in front. A little bit like here, we're able to get up the inside, get our nose, and the driver in front just not able to come across early enough to put themselves on the inside, and then we also get a bit of a benefit of a bit of a bump draft from behind just to give us that extra little bit of speed and to secure that move. So in the driver in the red suit in front of us not able to come across the right to cover off any moves early enough, that was what we needed to get past there, and that puts us into second place behind Kurt Holmes. And you can see there he's had the opportunity to stretch his legs a little bit, and the last few laps of the race now are going to be a case of trying to put in the fastest laps possible that I can to see if I can hunt him down and arrest
But if
a first
Sandal
place
doesn't
off him.
have the pace to push Penny along, it might be really, really difficult to catch Kurt Holmes, who is looking very quick. 51.2 for Kurt Holmes, Tim Penny 51.1, and that was overtaking someone. The pace advantage isn't really enough to catch Kurt Holmes, but if he can find another couple of tenths a lap, it might just be possible. 1 minute 30 on the clock.
So yeah, now with some free air and not having to try and pass people, that's exactly what I'd be trying to do as we jump ahead onto what would be the last lap as we go through Spoon. You can see we've broken down a bit of that gap, but there's still a fair chunk of distance between us, about 0.4 of a second, or somewhere between 4 and 0.6 of a second as we go through down into the carousel. But this is where I'd been gaining most time, or at least it looked like I'd been gaining most time to myself, was going through these compressions, just able to keep up a little bit more speed as we go through. And you can see there the gap really coming down as we go through the left, right, left of the compressions. But yeah, not enough this time as we cross the line in second place for heat number 1. I think just Kurt looked over his shoulder, so one more lap, and maybe would have been in a position to take the first place off him. But in this event we weren't, as we jump onto heat number 2. You can see Kurt has followed us through into the second heat, but gets a horrible run, and we're able to sort of come straight across in front of him and get a few more positions as we come up the hill. Scott Parker not able to come across early enough, but then Stephen Westwood is, as we had to sort of file in. Lenny Wood, I think that is, going for a little bit of an excursion on the grass, especially when tyres are cold, going on the outside of that fast right-hander, on the left-hand side. A little bit dangerous as we come down towards the carousel for the first time. Have a little bit of a think about sneaking up the inside, but gap wasn't really big enough, and it would have put us in a bit of a horrible position as we come through the next part. But through the compressions, a bit of a gap in front of us, so just decided to come over towards the left-hand side a little bit to avoid anyone from thinking that was giving them enough space to try and send it up the inside of me, and we'll live to fight on to lap 2. Stephen Westwood in front of us, quick driver, so if he's going to make a move, the aim would be to try and just follow him through, and not necessarily at this stage feel like it's crucial to get past. But as we climb up the hill, not quite close enough to follow through up the inside, and then as we go through in through the hairpin, through the left-hand king, is there enough drive? Not this time. Definitely not as good at the bottom end, this kart, as I had in the first one. I definitely felt like coming off the hairpin I had a little bit more, but it wasn't a bad kart by any means. But I think it's just like you could notice that, especially as this was heat 5, first heat was heat 3, so we threw it up the inside. So that's what I was trying to avoid in the first lap, was coming over too far towards the right hand side, allowing people to do that. So we jump forward now. As you can see, as we come up towards the hairpin, we're at the front of the queue and we just get lent on and force wide. Ended up with nowhere to go, had to cut over the grass as Kurt Holmes managed to take advantage of that and keep his momentum up. Miguel trying to come round the outside as we go through the carousel, but we're just about up to speed at that point and managed to prevent that. But yeah, not ideal. I don't know if it was intentional or just people coming very close together. But one of the things, as we I'll come back to that in a minute, but if we come down towards her, you can see Miguel eyeing up a move and just not quite enough alongside. Ends up clipping my rear quarter, and we go right and end up surrendering that position, which I wasn't particularly happy with afterwards. But it's one of those things, and by the end of the day, it was all good. So anyway, yeah, coming back to the instant at the hairpin. Oh, no, we'll come back to that in a minute. Miguel looks to try and send it on the inside, not able to, and that gives us the run as we go through the first turn, and able to get a couple of positions back, lose one just due to momentum, and end up having to tuck in as we go up the hill. But yeah, as we come up towards the hairpin here, I think being at the front of the queue, not that you don't want to be at the front of the queue, but you put yourself at some points in a little bit of danger, especially when you're at the head of a big queue. Because you're kind of at the mercy of the people behind you, and if one of them forgets to brake or chooses not to brake, you're normally the one that ends up coming off worse because you've got no one in front of you to then slow your momentum. So, and then that was the case there. And then it wasn't a particularly successful heat from that point on, but managed to bring it home in somewhat of a respectable position, at least giving us a chance for a decent position on the A finals. We just about managed to squeeze up the inside, going up towards the hill of this heat number 3, trying to get ourselves forward as quickly as possible. So we got Joe, Anwar, Stephen Westwood in this one again with us. So trying to get towards the front as quickly as possible, either to stop Joe or Anwar running away, although Anwar is currently behind us. would be very, very important. If you're enjoying so far, please do like, please do subscribe, ring the bell, leave a comment and all that good stuff. It's good to have some interactions with you guys. But yeah, have a look at the move up the inside of Giles Coke, but just wasn't enough room, didn't have enough of an O speed this time, and that ended up hurting my momentum, and we ended up losing the positions to Anwar and Stephen Westwood. And in hindsight, probably could have waited and done exactly what Anwar is doing now, which is going up the inside as we go up the hill, and that would have been a good opportunity to carry on pushing forward. We could think about trying to follow through and just have the door close in front of us before we could get fully alongside. So yeah, quite a big loss in terms of, you can see where Anwar is now and where we've dropped back to, and realistically, if I'd been a bit more patient, that could be us heading this group as we try to go and chase down Joe and the other kart in front of us now. But as it is, I'm not, and I'll have to learn for next time about being a bit more patient, even though it is a sprint race and you're trying to get through as quickly as possible. Coming through to the next lap, going to look to see if we can do exactly what Anwar did the previous lap, and we are indeed able to get alongside, get a bit of a push from Adam Britton behind, which makes it 10 times easier to make the move done and secured before we even get to the right-hand kink as we go up the hill. And from that point on, it would be a case of trying to chase down Stephen Westwood, and apart from Joe, who was just absolutely ballistic at the front, Anwar, Stephen and I had pretty reasonably close lap times from this point on in the race. You can see Stephen goes at the inside there of the driver in the grey helmet in front of us. That slows his momentum down, and then able to get up along the inside and go through, and that'll be us up into 4th position. And then from there, as I say, the lap times were really, really consistent between the three of us, and it would just be fractions being taken out of the gap between me and Stephen in front, to the point where as we get on towards the last lap or so, it's kind of similar to Heat 1 with Kurt. If the race had maybe been one more lap, then possibly we'd be able to make a move for 3rd place. But as it was, Anwar was too far gone, and the gap stayed pretty much as it was, about a couple of seconds at that point, having made it through the rest of the traffic, and then not able to get past Stephen by the end. So P4 would be the end of our heat. So a 2nd, a 7th, I think it was, and a 4th place is nothing in comparison to 3 straight wins, which would put Joe Holmes on pole for the A final. And luckily enough, we ended up 6th. Puts on the outside, so not the most ideal place for GYG, being that the first 3 corners are all right-handers, but I was surprised to be that far forward on the grid, especially after the 2nd heat. So obviously a lot of people today had at least one challenging heat and one that was a bit more challenging. So Adam Nather gets a good bit of a push behind from Miguel, able to try and slot it up the inside of Kurt Holmes. But as I said earlier, during a race, probably not, but because it's the first lap and everyone's going a little bit slower and not as much grip, able to stick it round the outside of the hairpin, meaning that we've got the inside then for the carousel, and I'm able to follow Kurt through and slip it back ahead of Adam and Miguel. However, get a little bit of a nudge as we go through the 2 right-handers. Nothing malicious. I think, again, it's just one of those consequences of being so tight, and as I tried to take my line, got a bit of a nudge from behind, and that sent me wide, allowed Adam to make his way back through. But as it would turn out in this race, Adam had phenomenal pace, and he would have got past eventually anyway, but that demotes us down into 6th position. And this was a tricky race, as we've got Miguel putting a lot of pressure on us already at the start of this one. So knowing that you have to be absolutely perfect to avoid falling into the clutches of the people behind, whilst also driving the absolute nuts off of it to keep up with the guys in front. I mean, at the moment it looks like it's going pretty well, but as we go through the compressions, you can see all very nice and close, possibly having thoughts about moving forward. But in a moment will sort of jump forward a decent chunk into the race, because at least for me, drivers in front not so much, but at least for me, it would just stay pretty stagnant, and you can see that like just being dropped by Adam as we go up the hill. I mean, again, I don't think I had a bad car. I think it's just the fact that it just didn't have quite enough to be able to chase down the guys in front, but it was enough to kind of keep in front of Miguel and the guys behind that were charging hard. As you see here, jumping forward 8 laps, and just that gap has it's opened up a little bit, and it just sort of stayed the same. There's been some fighting in front. Anwar and Kurt were having a bit of a ding-dong, which was not allowing them to progress away as quickly as they may have done. But you can see we've kind of broken the toe to Miguel behind, and that was going to be really, really important. If you can sit in the toe of someone at GYG, I mean, most of the lap you're on the loud pedal, and there's only a few bits of it. The very technical last section, which is a section where toe isn't important. So having been driving around for pretty much the entirety of this race on my own, whereas the guys in front have got the benefit of that toe, it was always going to be a tall order to try and catch up, and it would have been down to having a significant kart advantage, which I just didn't have. So we'll skip forward a little bit, have a look at what's going on at the front of the field. You can see here Anwar's managed to hold off Kurt up to this point. Adam's got himself up into third, storming run from him, and Joe's fallen back a little bit. There was an interesting bit of drama to do with kart changes and stuff, but as it is, Joe's currently the kart that he wasn't happy with, we'll say. But it did potentially give the opportunity for me, if again maybe there'd been 1 or 2 more laps to catch up and take a position off of Joe, but it wasn't the case. And as we come through onto the very last part of the race, you can see the group in front have really closed up together due to fighting, and as they come towards the line, really tight bit of racing between Anwar and Kurt. Kurt not particularly happy, and I think watching it back, I think that you could argue it was maybe a little bit over the top in terms of the rate of change of direction from Anwar, but I don't think it was necessarily malicious in a way. I think Anwar kind of got himself into like a little bit of a pickle. The previous lap, or a couple of laps ago, Kurt had gone for the move into that last corner and made it work, and Anwar was aware of that, so he'd put himself in a bit of a defensive position going into that last corner, which compromised him coming onto that last very short straight, and knowing that was going to come across to try and avoid any kind of overspeed from Kurt. But in doing that, and Kurt probably knowing that as well, he'd got himself into a really good position, possibly a bit earlier than Anwar expected. At that point, has no requirement to have to move, and in Anwar changing his position very quickly from left to right, in order to avoid a collision, Kurt then had to move. So it's one of those things where it's hard racing, especially at the end of a race where there's been a lot of battling. It can be sort of very heated in that moment. But I think at the end, the racing up to that point was a better demonstration of what the two there, Kurt and Anwar, are capable of, and what they show more often. And hopefully I can be part of that next time. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a good one.